Hey guys, welcome to Picksburgh. Appreciate you joining us for a special edition of this live stream. With us tonight, we have Dustin, the personal finance dad. Also, you guys know Nate, every day I'm hustling, my co-hostess with the mostest.
What up?
Definitely want to say what's up to everyone who's here. Paul Gates City Pickers, first one in chat. Definitely appreciate you being here, Paul. Paul actually co-hosts a weekly card auction that we do with every Sunday. Rotate between me and Nate's channel, 4 p.m. Eastern. For those of you guys who have not seen that yet, make sure you feel free to come out and check us out on Sundays. We greatly appreciate it.
Nice.
So, Dustin, for anyone who is new to you that may not have stumbled across your channel yet, do you mind introducing yourself and maybe just telling everyone a little bit about what you do on your channel?
Yeah, so I started my channel last March, and it was something that I had been kind of working up to for a little while. I didn't get into cards because of Gary Vee. I'd been into cards for quite a bit before. I got back into the hobby about 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago, and I collected 30 years ago. But the one influence that Gary Vee had on me was I was, during that time kind of leading up to pandemic stuff, I was watching a lot of motivational things, trying to stay motivated, stay happy, if you will. And a lot of his content is just about making content. And, it's all about just putting yourself out there. If there's something you have a passion about, get out there and talk about it, whether it's a podcast or YouTube channel or whatever it is, or blog. And so I'd never really done any sort of YouTube or video stuff before, but I thought I would give it a shot. I saw some of the, the other channels popping up, and I was just thinking, like, why not? Why not try to kind of put my own spin on it? I started about a year ago, and I really try to do consistent content every day, probably a little too much, frankly. But it's just part of my getaway, thing. And it's kind of my hobby within the hobby. And then I'm also involved in other collectibles as well. So it's really kind of a collectibles channel, with a personal finance spin to it. I kept it as personal finance dad just to keep it super general. I guess I could have done collectibles dad or something like that. But, I was just thinking long term. If I do personal finance dad, then I can really talk about any subject kind of within that world.
Absolutely. That's really cool. So did you ever do separate content besides sports card, like dealing more so in personal finance?
Not really. I mean, when I started out, I was thinking about doing kind of a broad array of, talking about different things. But then as I dug down, it was like, it was just too much to cover. It was just too many. And I was having so much fun with cards that's why the majority of my content is card related. So I just stuck with that. But I'm also big into graded comic books and other things. But I've done some videos on graded comic books, but I just haven't been collecting them as consistently. So I've got comic stuff in there, and I've also got, starting lineup video, and I've got, but I haven't been doing that daily. It's not like I'm checking eBay for starting lineups every single day or comic books. So whereas I am doing that with sports cards. So that's why it dominates.
Yeah, definitely. I like to collect a little bit of that stuff too. After seeing Brad get that giant Shaq autograph card at that one show, that got me going. I was like, man, I need to get me some memorabilia too. And I just picked up a Darius Garland signed ball because I'm a big Cavs fan.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I mean, even those huge paintings you always have in your videos are super cool, man. And that's what I like is thinking outside of the box, about cards as art, you know what I mean? Because it legitimately is one of the most iconic pieces of art in my lifetime, at least, that Michael Jordan 86 flare, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And seeing that through your videos is pretty cool.
Yeah, I was fortunate. Well, and I was trying to figure out, I need to do something with the backdrop. And I was getting suggestions because when I started out, it was literally white walls behind me. It looked like I was in a prison cell. Kind of like tonight, actually. I'm not facing. So on the other walls, I've got all the paintings and stuff over here.
Yeah.
But behind me, this is so when I'm on conference calls and things, this is what's behind me. And then I've got kind of all my gear on the other side because it's my office / studio. But I was fortunate because I was like, man, I got to figure out some sort of a backdrop. And my mother-in-law happens to be an artist. She really enjoys it. And so that was something where she could, create those for me kind of as a little side gig. I pay her to do that. And she hooked me up with some cool ones. So yeah, I just got lucky there.
That is really cool though. I'm sure you've probably had a lot of people like want to like get you to get those made for them.
Yeah, we have gotten requests for it. And, haven't really gotten into it. I know I've seen actually I think on Facebook and different Facebook groups. And then also at card shows, there was people that were pinging me that were like, hey, there's people that have these at card shows too, that are really doing well. And she's kind of kicked it back and forth as to whether or not she wants to, sell them or not. She's got a lot going on. She does wine tastings. That's her business. So she's big into, she's what's the word? A sommelier. Is that how you say it?
You're getting as good as mine.
Yeah. She's from Italy. So she's got all the, that's her deal. And she really, really loves that. So it's kind of something that she's doing for me on the side, but I can't imagine her doing it, in a big way. So We'll see though. We'll see. Who knows? You never know.
It's still really cool though that you may have one of ones hanging on your wall.
Right.
Even better.
I did do a trade in the chat. Ziggy knows in the chat. He does have one. I did a trade with him for one. He is a friend of mine. So I did make a deal with him on a painting, but yeah, that was the one time that I've done that. Outside of, there's another guy, Steve, Flippin' Steve, that we had done one for him. But yeah, outside of that, yeah, it's been, just the stuff I've got. We'll see. I've got one. So actually I have her working on one. This is good. So because I've got the sports cards, but I wanted to add in a comic book cover. So actually what she's going to try to do is the Amazing Fantasy 15, the first appearance of Spider-Man. So yeah, it won't be like identical to it. We'll take out certain things, but it'll kind of be like her rendition of it. So I thought that'd be kind of cool just to mix it up and, have a comic book cover.
That's really cool. That'd be even cool if you can get her to like personalize one for you, like, taking off the Spider-Man mask and it being you or something. That'd be awesome.
Right. Yeah, she kind of throws up. I've got like a Luca blue prism, and then where the prism is supposed to be, it's PFD, and then on the top right, it's personal finance data, and then on where it's rookie card, where the rookie card's supposed to be, she's got PFD. So she does little things like that. But
that's really cool.
My son, the first time he saw that, he was like, Dad, why do you have a picture of a dancing girl on the wall? Like he was looking at like Luca doing like the step back three. Yeah. I'm like, it's funny. But yeah, no, you guys have wicked backdrops. So I was like, I've got to get something that competes with some of these other guys that are, these big card guys. I got to have something.
I got to let you in on a secret, Dustin.
Yeah.
My backdrop is mine's just
it's a green screen. Nice. Yeah. Well,
we can go to Heinz Field. We can go to the hood. We can go just about anywhere. But yeah, mine's just a green screen.
Good for you guys. What's the picture? Is that a card shop or?
I honestly just Googled cool man cave.
Oh, okay. It totally faked me out. I had no idea. I need to get one of those too. I need to get the green screen thing.
It's super easy. Like you could even go as like primitive as like a sheet. Like before, like I got a new computer with like fancy stuff. I literally just had a sheet hung up in my basement with a laptop pointing at it, and it looked the same.
That is awesome. Cool. So how long have you guys been? I've been watching your channel for a while now, but when did you guys actually get started with your channels?
I started mine, I think January of 2019. Nate, I think you were like maybe 6 months after me, something like that.
Yeah, I think mine was in August.
Yeah, we ended up connecting because he was watching a different YouTuber, and I guess he had said something about me, and he's like, whoa, somebody's from Pittsburgh. That's like really close to me. So we ended up connecting like that. And long story short, like we've been doing YouTube shows together for like the last 2 years and stuff like that. We used to have a morning show where we talked about eBay and Amazon and stuff like that, because for a living, that's what I do is I sell stuff on eBay and Amazon. And Nate was always really big into doing that as well. And just kind of fit in so well with like the hobby, because once like the pandemic hit, Nate kind of got swept up into, cards like the rest of the world. And we kind of just, we're doing this kind of stuff now.
That's awesome.
Roughly two and a half years, something like that.
Were you guys card collectors as kids and got back into it, or is it something you've kind of always done off and on?
Yeah, I always collected as a kid. I got out of it for like several years, but like all of like my most prized cards I kept, they weren't worth anything. Like, for example, like when I was a kid, like I would have had like a screw down with something like this. This is like, I have a cat that I love, and I have a relic that I had graded because I love my cat. You know what I mean? So like all my favorite cards are like the most terrible Cleveland Cavaliers you've ever heard of, or like, you know, like the Pittsburgh Steelers that you've like never heard of. You know what I mean? Like Nate had, it's so obscure that like even most Steeler fans haven't heard of them. In his eBay store, he had a Danny Ferry autograph. I was like, dude, you have a Danny Ferry autograph in your eBay store? He's like, dude, you know who Danny Ferry is?
I remember Danny Ferry.
Watching that one.
Oh, yeah, I remember him. He was actually pretty good. I mean, he was a good player. I mean, obviously, like, there's just been so many good basketball players. Guys like that get swept under the rug, but he was a good player.
Yep, absolutely.
So was the Cavs championship over the Warriors, was that kind of like the highlight of your life, being a Cavs fan, or top 10? I should not of your life, but sports life.
Definitely top 10 sports. Yeah, I would say top 2. That and the first time I saw the Steelers win a Super Bowl. That's probably number 1 sports.
Yeah, I was actually. It wasn't obviously it wasn't the first time, but I was in Tampa. I didn't actually see the game, but when they beat the Cardinals in the Super Bowl on like the last play or whatever, it was like right at the end of the game. That was an amazing game.
It was. Yeah.
Roethlisberger is so clutch.
He is.
At least he was. I mean, I think he's just been injured, but he's just so clutch.
Yeah.
Hopefully he got one more year in him.
I think he does. He's probably got a couple.
Yeah, that's one thing I was, telling Nate a couple weeks ago was that's one thing that's been nice about having Ben all this time is that it's a quarterback that anytime he goes on the field, I think we can win this game.
You got a shot.
Yeah. That year we had Duck Hodges and Mason Rudolph. It was like, oh my God, like, what are we going to do? This is terrible.
Yeah.
Like, Steelers I know and love.
That's why all these teams are trying, you look at like the upcoming draft. I don't know how good any of these guys are, but that's why like the top 4 picks are all going to be QBs, because it's like everyone's just going to reach, on QBs because they're trying to get that next Roethlisberger or Brady or whoever, Breeze.
MSC, that just means they're going to be on your team in like a couple of years. That's typically what happens. Anyone that is a Steeler just goes to the Cardinals.
That's a good point.
You're welcome for James Conner, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, basically, it's like where they golf in the sunset is down in Arizona.
That is true, Paul. I am the one who bought that graded Brad Doherty.
The Brad Doherty.
Yeah, I got a PSA 8 rookie card of him. But yeah, I have so many like crazy graded Cavs. Like I have an Anderson Varejao like PSA 10. Like
I assume you've got like Mark Price stuff. You have Mark Price and
tons of Mark Price. Yeah,
Mark Price was so awesome.
He was the best player whenever I first like found the Cavs, because my best friend as a kid, he actually passed away like several years ago, but his family used to take me to the Cavs game with him whenever we were kids, because we both grew up like loving like basketball, and we didn't have any in Pittsburgh. So his dad would take us to the Cavs game like once or twice a year, and we'd go see like whatever teams were like his favorite teams at the time. You know what I mean? So
I wish the Cavs would go back to like their retro Cavs, like that net, the net with the ball. Like I thought that was like their like the logo they have now is like okay, but it's like I feel like it'd be more popular if they went back, especially with people our age that are all nostalgic and everything.
Absolutely.
Like it would eat that up, because it's so basic, but it's just clean. Yeah. It's nice. I don't know. I wish they would do that.
Yeah, I actually last time I was in Cleveland, I just bought one of those retro jerseys of Larry Nance. That was that exact era.
Nice. That's awesome.
So have you always grown up like being a fan of the Saints?
Yeah, that was a curse that was passed on to me by my dad when we were but actually not really. I shouldn't say that, because their first year was 1967. That was their inaugural year. And my dad was 12 at the time, and their first kickoff ever, they ran it back for a touchdown. And so at that moment, he was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to be a Saints fan. They didn't have a winning season for like 20 years. That's when I started watching, actually, was 87. I was born in 81. So 87, that was really kind of the birth. That was Bobby Hebert and the Dome Patrol. And we were actually competitive with the 49ers and the Rams. I mean, that was Joe Montana and the 49ers in that division. And they won. No one, I mean, everyone thinks about the 49ers in the 80s, but the Saints gave them a real run from like 87 to 90. There was a bunch of games where they just lost at the end and stuff, but they could play, they could hang with them. And we just always came up short. But yeah, we have all these stories of when I was a kid, where we'd be up. My dad always says, like, we'd be up at halftime and then the Saints would fall apart in the second half. And I'd always go to bed crying, and that's how my Sundays always would end. And not much has really changed 30 years later.
Well, luckily, Drew Brees brought you at least one championship.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's really the highlight. I mean, that's honestly, it's kind of like, I didn't think that was ever even going to happen. I've got the 2009 Saints championship DVD. I just watch that when I'm in, like, when I feel down, I just pop that in and I'm totally good. I can always hang on to that. So yeah, no, I agree. Same thing with with your Cavs. Like if the Cavs never win again, you can go back and watch those highlights. And
exactly. They used to always make fun of me right after LeBron left the second time, tell me how horrible they were and all this stuff. And I'd be like, hey, 2016, bro, 2016. You can't take 2016 from me no matter what happens. 2016 happened.
Yep. Yeah, no, I mean, I wonder, well, it's probably not going to happen. I think LeBron's going to finish in LA, but it would be kind of funny if he came like the one like farewell tour, like he's 41 or something. Like wheels out in a wheelchair. He's 45 or whatever, But I'm sure Cavs fans would love that.
Oh, absolutely. I think the only way that would happen is if they somehow find a way to get Bronny.
Well, yeah, and think about it too. Like if he's all set up in LA, like why would he care about doing just a 1-year deal, like 1-year contract? I'm going to finish out with Cleveland. I'm at the end of the road. I just want to just for like nostalgia's sake kind of thing. I could see him doing something like that. Because it's not like he's got to move his family for one NBA season.
Right.
Yeah, Browns, Jets, Lions. No, I know. I've got buddies. Sure. I've got good friends that are Lions fans, and my in-laws are all Browns fans. So my AFC team is the Browns for that reason, just because exactly what you're talking about, Ziggy. Yeah, the linebackers. Yeah, the Dome Patrol's top 5 unit in the NFL history. They were legit. Ricky Jackson was a madman. Well, they all were really.
Yeah.
We just couldn't get the offense on board. We had we had an average offense and a really dominant defense.
Yep.
Just couldn't get over the hump.
That's what I'm hoping doesn't happen to the Steelers this year, because that's kind of what their MO was last year. Their offense was just mediocre at best. They couldn't protect Ben. They couldn't establish a run game. The defense was like next level.
Yeah.
Todd, that would be amazing if LeBron did that. Because the only reason the Penguins are even still in Pittsburgh is because Mary Lemieux bought them. The city was or whoever owned them before Lemieux was getting ready to move them to Kansas City. And Lemieux's like, yeah, that ain't happening. But yeah, that'd be amazing if that happened. Hey, Flippin' Mama's in the house. Appreciate you being here, Mama. Do want to say thanks for being here too, Steve. Appreciate it. So, is there anything that you like the PC specifically in your own collecting?
I think as a whole, vintage football cards. So, I have Saints cards. I've got a couple of nice Breeze rookies. I actually bought a Breeze auto rookie off Flippin' Steve. He gave me a pretty good deal on it maybe like 6 months ago.
That's awesome.
But I don't have 1,000 Breeze cards and I've really tried to, and it kills me to do it, but I've been buying so much Tom Brady stuff, and I don't like, it's not that I don't like Tom Brady. It's just, I've always every time he's in the Super Bowl, I'm rooting for the opposite team. In this past season, it was the Bucs. So it's a division rival. I was a Chiefs. I had all my red Chiefs fan, gear on, but I can't help if I'm investing in sports cards. It's like, Tom Brady's about the safest football pick ever. Now, I know that, his stuff isn't cheap, but I kind of on the same line as like vintage football, I would say is my PC, because I buy a lot of like, Marcus Allen rookies, and, I've got like just a lot of random like Hall of Fame rookie cards, and 89 score was a big set for me when I was a kid that I couldn't afford. So my PC is a lot of 89 score stuff. I've got a complete set in a binder. But then I've got a lot of the graded stuff too. But that's definitely like a nostalgia set for me.
Yeah, definitely. Those are some big sets for me as well. Growing up in like the 80s and the 90s. I know like even when I started, like a lot of times I would even get like my cousin's hand-me-downs. So like even some of like those like mid to late 80s were like some of the first things I started with, some of the first sets I had and everything like that. I'm going to say what's up to Garrett. I appreciate you being here. Dave, thanks for being here as well, my friend. Really appreciate it. So how long have you actually been getting into like the investable side of the hobby?
I would say I got back into the hobby 3 years ago, and I was actually, so I started back in, I was also buying graded comic books. And what's funny is now that's all coming full circle where like card people are getting into comic books and all that. I have friends that are into that as well. But what I was doing is, from like a speculating standpoint, I was buying typically how that works with comic books is you're kind of guessing you're specking on who the next villain is going to be in the next Marvel movie or DC or whatever it is. And so then you're buying that first appearance of that book, or you're buying, an important book, of that character. And so that was kind of like a fun spec, type thing. And then I got into sports cards at about the same time, but just not as heavy, because when I got into it, I was like, okay, I just don't see as much movement on the sports card side. But there were certain cards that I wanted that I, as a kid, I could never afford. And then also I was trying to wrap my head around the grading. So when I first got in, I was like, why are some of these graded? Why are there some are not? And then who are the companies that grade? I was like completely oblivious to all that stuff. So I was, and actually I thought BGS would be the way to go for grading. I was like, okay, Beckett, I know Beckett from the 80s. I had Beckett magazine. So I don't know what this PSA crap is, but I definitely know what BGS is. So I'm getting that, so, when I got back in, it was more Beckett stuff. And I got like, I did buy some PSA stuff too after researching. I got like a Joe Montana rookie card and a PSA 8. I got a Jim Brown rookie card and a PSA 3. I got some of the 89 score stuff. What else did I get? Pete Maravich rookie card, PSA 6. But, I was spending on the Jim Brown rookie was about $200. The Pete Maravich rookie at that time was about $200. And for me, that was expensive to buy cards at $200. I was like, these are great long-term holds, but like, they're not going to move. Like, that was my thought is like, this is going to be 200, and the next year it might be 210. And then the year after that, it'll be 215, and I was totally fine with that. I was fine with that, and I think I was talking about that on a recent video. I think that the last 2 years, 18 months has just clouded everybody's, reality, to where it's, when I buy a card, I'm thinking like, now look, there's some spec cards where I might buy it and be like, oh, I'm going to try to sell this before the season starts. But then I have like a pretty big clump of cards, like the Brady stuff. I'm not looking to flip the Brady stuff. That's stuff that I just want to hold for a long period of time. So it's like collectors are sort of long-term investors, like if you think of it from that standpoint. And that's where I buy kind of the spec flip stuff to then buy larger stuff or long-term hold stuff, or the vintage football PC stuff.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. What's the favorite collectible, like whether it's a card or an action figure or whatever that you own?
Oh man, that's really tough. Because like, I mean, from a nostalgia standpoint, it would be all of like the 89 score stuff, even like the starting lineups that I've got. Have you guys gotten into that at all? Do you remember those?
Oh yeah, I used to have a ton.
I used to
have all the ones.
Let me grab one real quick, just so I can, hold on a second. So like, this is one that I really like. And this is, so for starting lineups, AFA is the action figure. It's like the PSA for action figures. And this is a 94 Favre starting lineup. I think it's 94. Yeah, but it's kind of cool though, because like on the label, it says rookie piece. So it labels it like that's the first starting lineup of that particular player. And I've got like Barry Sanders and I've got Emmitt Smith and then I've got the Favre. So when I was a kid, I was a huge Packers fan, Favre fan, because the Saints were never a playoff team. So that was always kind of the team that I'm rooting for in the playoffs, because the Saints never got there. So I was always a big Favre fan with my brother. So I really like the starting lineups, to answer your question. And then a lot of the football cards. I also, there's basketball cards too, that I really enjoy. I have a lot of 80s basketball, nothing crazy. I don't have an 86 Fleer Jordan rookie. I would like to get it. I mean, it's funny because literally like when I first got back into the hobby 3 years ago, I told my wife, I think it was a PSA. Hold on. Let me look back. Hold on one second. Let me just look this up because I want to make sure I get I want to make sure it was the right price because it was like stupidly lower than what it is now.
What's up, Spider?
It was a Jordan rookie. I'm pretty sure it was a PSA 9 Jordan rookie. And I'm pretty sure that it was like a $4,000 or $5,000 card 3 years ago.
Wow.
Let me just go back though, so I'm not just pulling stuff out of my butt. Hold on. Yeah, let me just check. I'm pretty sure that's right because I'm looking at a PSA 8 right now, going back to the middle of 2019, and that was a $2,000 card. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that it was a 9, and it was $4,000 or $5,000 at that point. And I remember telling my wife, like, I'd really like. I know we don't really have the money, but I would really like. That would be like a card that I that I want. That's the one. And now, of course, it's a $40,000 card or whatever it is now. But so yeah, I mean, it's just changed so dramatically, so quickly. But I do think though that it's gonna. I think that it's gonna pan down a little bit. I'm not saying crash or anything like that, but I do think that it's gonna kind of level out. We'll have a new floor, so to speak. On a lot of that stuff, but oh yeah, Spider said I bought the LeBron McFarlane. Yeah, I thought that was kind of cool, and I don't know. I know they made a lot of those. I have one actually up here too, the red jersey. They've got a white and a red jersey. I've got one of each. They're not super rare, but it's like the rookie year LeBron starting. It's not a starting lineup. It's because they didn't make him in 2003, but it's McFarlane. Todd McFarlane was making them. That's kind of cool.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think anything LeBron's pretty awesome. What's up, Michael?
Yeah, long term. Yeah.
So Todd was asking question here on your thoughts on slam dunk starting lineups of iconic players like Jordan, Bird, or Magic.
Yeah, I really like those. I think that they're a lot more rare than the regular ones. The other thing about starting lineups that's kind of interesting about the spec on those is people have been ripping those up to get the cards out of them to send a PSA and then sell the PSA graded cards. So because they're ripping them up, there's not as many still in the box. So that's one thing I'm really curious about with starting lineups is 20 years down the road, are people going to be pining after the ones that are in the box because they all got ripped up to get the cards? Whereas like right now, the cards are really hot. Down the line, is it going to be like, oh, wow, they're still in the box. And who knows, like 20 years down the road, there might be like NFTs or something. It might actually go the other way where people are like, man, I want physical collectibles to be, like that'll be like cool again. Now we're kind of moving into like the digital stuff where it's like, ooh, physical things, but I think that could definitely come back around. It's, down the line.
Yeah, I can see that too. People will be like 3D printing their own starting lineups one day.
Right.
Yeah, I think that original stuff is going to be, and I could be totally wrong, but I think it'll be fun it's going to be fun 20 years from now to look back on like this video, or whatever, and be able to see what happened with it.
Garrett, they're green screens. I wish that was my real collection. I haven't reached that status yet, but thank you, man. What's up, big guy? Good to see you, man. Appreciate you being here.
Do you feel like the market is starting to really, you're saying you think it's starting to pan down? Do you think we're at that point right now where we're actually, basically like, you're not seeing so much of the big game reactions like you used to? Because I bought in a couple guys like Michael Porter Jr. and Porzingis, and they've came back, and especially with the Nuggets, You know, they're going to need Michael Porter Jr. for his offensive, you know, side of things to go far in the playoffs. And you know, he's been playing pretty well, and I've seen no movement on either of their cards. I just wanted to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, that's the thing that I guess it's all going to kind of ride on, you know, playoff basketball. You know, what happens as we're kind of leading up to playoff basketball, because we've been kind of like middle of the season, you know, where everyone's kind of, you know, not paying as much attention to it. It doesn't feel like. I don't know. I'm trying to wrap my head around it. There's a lot of moving parts. I just remember last basketball season. Now, granted, you know, you had the break in the season, and we were coming back, and there was, you know, everyone's at home, and you know, all that. So it's totally different environment. But I feel like last season there was definitely more of like, oh, this guy popped off for a few games and had a great few games, and his cards doubled or whatever. And right now, I'm just not really feeling that. And I don't know if it's just people are just kind of fatigued by all the flipping and all the card trading. I don't know if it's, you know, partly has to do with NFT stuff like NBA Top Shot. I mean, I got into NBA Top Shot fairly early, and not that I put a boatload of money into NBA Top Shot, but I put a fairly substantial amount in, and that's money that I would have spent on cards. And I'm not the only one that did that. There was actually quite a few card people that did that. So, you know, if you kind of, and that's just one example. That's Top Shot. Tomorrow you've got Topps baseball NFTs are coming out.
Yep.
What does that mean for physical stuff? Is there enough room for kind of all of these markets, or is it going to spread everybody thin? You know, is it going to, you know, spread all this money out to where, you know, levels it off? I don't know. You know, that's the thing that's kind of interesting to watch.
That's a good point too, because I don't think that I've even given enough credence to, you know, big time investors in the hobby, like really taking a substantial portion of their card money and putting it into the, you know, the NFTs and stuff like that, and the Top Shots or whatnot, you know, because it is like the new hot thing right now, and there's tons of money over there. Do you enjoy the actual like collecting of the Top Shot, or is it more of like the thrill of like getting something expensive that you can flip?
You know, when I first looked at it, I was kind of like, you know, I'm not really feeling it. But then as I started to kind of stay on that platform and mess around with it, and I bought a few packs, but a lot of people really bought a lot of packs. That's kind of how they were doing it, or they were getting into the drops. I was actually in the marketplace the whole time, really. I mean, I was just buying them. Now I got in early December, and that was before, I mean, there's literally 2,000 people on the platform, you know, so now there's like 300,000. You know, so it was way before anybody was involved in it. And there was kind of part of me that was like, okay, I can buy Luka Doncic Series 1, you know, these moments. And the ones that I was buying were like, you know, I bought like 15 of the 3-pointer that he made to beat the Clippers, the game-winning shot in the playoffs. I'm like, that's got to be a fairly important moment. It's probably the biggest shot of his whole career so far. So I focused around LeBron and Steph Curry and, you know, the Zions and those sorts of things. Not anything super rare on that platform, though. I didn't buy like the Hollows or the Cosmics or anything. I just bought a lot of the base stuff for cheap. And then it happened to be that the base stuff just kind of went up in price as more users got on that platform. And now it's come back down. You know, it's come back down over the last couple of months. But I like that platform long term. You know, I'll probably buy and sell on it, but I'll always hold on to some of it because I do like it. I do collect them. So it's like, I know a lot of people are just like, it's just all flippers. Honestly, I feel like you can say the same thing about sports cards. You know, there's a boatload of flippers that got into sports cards too. That's kind of why this is all happening with sports cards. And then of course you have the collectors, and that might be the argument against like an NBA Top Shot that we just don't know yet. Is there a strong enough collector base to keep that moving, you know, over time? I think that there will be. I think there is and there will be, but only time will tell that. Sports cards have 100 years of, you know, history, 100 plus years of collecting. So yeah, we'll have to see.
So Grunt Dad had a question here. He was asking, do you think crypto will ever be the preferred method of payment when dealing with sports cards and collectibles, especially with next year's new tax laws?
Yeah, that's a great question. I recently just got into cryptocurrency. And I'm trying to figure out, I don't think, and look, it's all speculation, but I don't think that it's just going to take over the US dollar and we're just going to only deal in cryptocurrencies. I mean, maybe that'll be the case. I'm just not sure. And maybe 20 years down the road, that will be how it works. I think that it'll be used more for like, bartering, and I think it's also a hedge against the US dollar since we're just printing US dollars. Like, we're just printing them. And so it's a hedge. I mean, it's a hedge against, what if my US dollar is now worth 20 cents? Well, I've got these other currencies that I can buy stuff with. Ethereum is, worth this. And I can get, and that's why people are buying assets. That's why people are spending a boatload of money on 86 Fleer Michael Jordan PSA 10s, because it might be worth $500,000, but what is it? How much ETH is it worth? How much Bitcoin is it worth? If the dollar's not, if the dollar goes down. So I think it's a hedge. It's a hedge against all of those things. What has Dustin done with his 86 Fleer buying? He did a while back. I'm just holding on to the Fleer stickers. Yeah, and I've got some regular 86 Fleer. I don't have a lot of it because I was really just buying specific players. Actually, I lost on an auction. I want to add another Charles Barkley rookie card in a PSA 8 specifically, and I lost an auction the other night for it. I have one of those, and I've got one Hakeem in a PSA 8. I would like to kind of increase my position on those guys, and I've been paying really close attention to their prices because they went way up, and then they've kind of come back down to earth a little bit. So I'm trying to catch it a little bit before hopefully they might go back up. So I want to go ahead and grab a couple more of those. But I'm just holding. 86 Fleer basketball is one where I'm, 30 years from now, 86 Fleer basketball is still going to be relevant. Just in my opinion, I don't think it's going anywhere. I think it'll still be important, even if we're in an entirely new digital world where we're in virtual reality goggles or whatever we're doing at that point. I still think that'll be relevant down the road.
Absolutely. Yeah, as long as 61 Fleer is still relevant, that'll definitely still be, and probably even more so because Jordan pretty much was the GOAT.
Yeah.
So Ziggy says he thinks the market has two pressures forcing it down. One, product prices are too high, and cost of grading is too high. Can't make money opening a box. Absolutely. Hey, Pat, good to see you, man. Appreciate you being here.
What up?
Yeah, I think it's kind of the overkill of – so here's – and you guys probably remember this. A year ago, I know Ziggy definitely does, 18 months ago, when I remember a couple of years ago, people were getting upset because they would go on the Panini website to buy Prism basketball, let's just say, and they would get upset because there'd be bots that get in and buy it or whatever. And Panini then, instead of doing where they put it up for retail and it just sells out, they started doing that Dutch auction where they start the price at $1 million and they come down on, on the box because they wanted to capture that secondary market price. And so now they've just got it so high. They're just like, hey, if we just can, we're going to take all that. But like, like we're saying, there's not value in $2,000 boxes. And very few people are opening $2,000 boxes and getting their money out of it. Very, very few. So So what's going to happen with that? People are just going to get tired of it and they're going to move on probably.
Yep, absolutely. And that's rough too, man. Like I feel like Panini should at least do some kind of thing. Like my buddy just bought a hobby box of Origins and 7 cards in it, like $50 some per card. Literally he might have pulled like $50 worth of value. And it's like, oh my goodness. Like I couldn't, you know what I mean? Like if I was Panini, I couldn't in good faith, like send that box out into the world. Like, now CJ Ellersby could turn into the GOAT, but you know what I mean? Like it's like a $4 card on eBay. But so that's definitely a tough one too. Mike had a question here about soccer cards. I personally don't know a whole lot about the soccer market. I don't know if you do, Dustin or Nate.
Well,
anything about
go ahead, Nate, if you have something.
I really don't know too much about it at all, to be honest. I mostly just focus on the big three, the baseball, football, basketball for the most part. I guess soccer is actually probably the biggest one actually now, probably
in popularity globally.
Yeah.
Yeah, the big news today, I think it was today or maybe it was yesterday, They're now, so they're forming a super league that they're going to, so all the big teams, Man U and Juventus and all these teams are going to form a super league, or that's what they want to do. But what happened was that I thought was kind of crazy is FIFA is really upset about that. And so they're saying like, all right, well, that's fine, but you're not going to participate in the Euro or the World Cup. Like your players we might deny your players from being able to play in the World Cup, which it's like, why, if you can't watch like Messi and Ronaldo in the World Cup, then who's going to watch the World Cup?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So I thought that was that's kind of a big deal if you're a soccer card person, because you're buying soccer. A lot of people are buying soccer cards because the Euro and the World Cup are coming up. That's like those are the big events, like the Super Bowl, type deal where they're trying to spec on players that are going to do well in the international games. And what if they're not playing in them? That's kind of a big deal. So I'm sure maybe they're just bluffing and they'll, FIFA and them will work it out. But that was some pretty big news.
Yeah, definitely. I didn't even realize all that was going down. I probably need to spend more time researching some of these other sports, especially whenever like, Mbappe stuff is like selling like it's going out of style, like I've actually even opened up some soccer cards one time just because it was the only stuff I could find at Walmart at the time. But
yeah,
like, I had no idea who I was even looking at, but like the thrill of still opening up wax was awesome.
Yeah, I'm just not. I've got some soccer cards, but I have enough to be dangerous, but I'm not. I'm not big on it. So I don't want to tell Mike. I don't know enough about the EPL set. To talk on it.
Absolutely, I don't either. Plenty of good channels out there though that know soccer pretty well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, agreed. It's like you can't do it. You can't be the master at everything. I'm not the master at anything, let alone everything.
Exactly. Definitely. So let me ask you this: what kind of inspired you to start with like YouTube and everything like that? I know you said like it was right around like the time like the pandemic and everything came about, but what like gave you that push? Was it like the stuff you were hearing from Gary Vee, or was it just like I'm just always curious, like what like gave a creator like that push to like get out there and be like, you know what, I'm just going to start doing it?
Yeah, it was kind of probably a combination of factors. It was something that was kind of a few months in the making. I mean, I saw like Jeff at Sports Card Investor. I really liked his show when he started his show, and then there was PSA Collector had some cool production value. I thought that some of the stuff that he was doing was cool, and it was like, I didn't know anything about it. I thought it'd just be kind of a fun hobby in addition to what I'm already doing, talking about stuff I'm already doing, and then the community aspect of it too. I thought, it'd be kind of cool to connect with some like-minded people. And this is a way that I could do that, through this channel. I could do it. And then, there's also, there was also kind of the financial element of, well, if it gets popular, then, there's an opportunity for, to make money off of it as well. There's a potential business there. That was also a piece. So you have kind of a lot of moving pieces to it. And it was just kind of a win-win-win-win across the board. It's just like, there's so many reasons to do it and not too many reasons not to. And I was at home. It's like, we're home with, with not a lot to do. And I was like, I got to give this a shot and see what happens.
It's awesome. So what keeps you doing it on like days where it's just really hard and like you want to give up?
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to, so I have a video coming out tomorrow where I break kind of there's a big part of the story that I don't want to give away tonight, but I have a video coming out tomorrow that's going to explain more about this. Mm-hmm. But what was I going to say? Shoot, there was something there and I just forgot it. Crap, I lost it. I was like, my brain was going 3 different directions there, but yeah. I know where I was going to go. Okay. So over this last year, in addition to what I'm going to talk about tomorrow, over the last year, I've got a lot of people that have reached out that either lost their job, disabled veterans, people that have been really down and depressed for a lot of different reasons. They lost someone to the pandemic, or they lost someone, all these different things, breakups, relationships ending, and basically just emailing me or pinging me or commenting saying, hey man, like, I appreciate this. This is kind of like I like I said, I probably make too much content, but they say like I really look forward to at least kind of watching this every day, and it's kind of like a bright spot, but not like I'm bringing anything amazing. It's just more of like, if you're going through weird times, this can be something to where you can just like check out for a second and just watch this goofy idiot talking about sports cards for 12 minutes a day on his video. And that's my channel, so it's like, I can provide kind of an escape, for people. And I didn't think that I didn't really take that seriously until I started getting a lot of people telling me that. And I was like, okay, I kind of have a responsibility to this too. I'm making a difference, outside of just talking about cards. And that's where I try to incorporate. I sometimes I don't always nail it because I just with life, but try to add like a positive piece at the end of the video or some sort of life lesson I learned or whatever, or some sort of motivational thing towards the end is kind of in an effort to, for people that are just having a crap day or something, or a bad week or month or year, hopefully it's something that's helpful.
Yeah, I can tell you from personal experience, it's been helpful to me on several videos, so I appreciate it.
Oh, great. Okay. So. Yeah, because I mean, ideally, I also see this as something I could be an 80-year-old man and still doing this. This is not manual labor. I'm not digging ditches. I'm not doing, this isn't, difficult work. It's mental work, but I mean, and so that's where it's like, I would like for my channel to be more than just a, collectibles channel or card channel, make a difference in the world. So, it's like it's all the things kind of lined up into one.
Absolutely. That's really cool, man. And it's awesome that you're able to take something that you took as, you started it as kind of like an outlet for you during like a weird time. And like now you've made it an outlet for other people. So like, that's super cool of you.
No, I appreciate that. It's weird to think that that's what it's kind of turned into, but I'm proud of it. And, it's odd. Like I have an 8-year-old daughter who's, already, pre-teening, and she's about to turn 9. Like she's not even a preteen yet. And she's already kind of, but she, I've never been cooler to her than since I started the YouTube channel. It's like my dad's on YouTube. He's a YouTuber. If I don't, I'll never be cool to her outside of like this thing that I'm doing, so, that's the one thing where they're like, she tells all of her friends at school and, so that, there's some cool things that come out of it. I'm sure you guys get the same thing too with, with your channel and your family. And, that's kind of a nice feeling too, where your family is like, okay, you're kind of popular in the world in that small segment of the world. It's a niche, thing, but that's cool.
That is pretty cool. Yeah. I have my little nephews, like almost every weekend my mom watches them, and every weekend they call me Bubbles because like I did this trick with Bubbles when they were little kids. So like I'm Uncle Bubbles to them. So like every weekend they're like, Bubbles, what's your sub count? How many subscribers do you have now, Bubbles? Like, and even if I have like 2 more subscribers than the last week, it's like they're so fired up about it. Super cool to see.
That's awesome. How about for you guys? I mean, do you have is there, I guess, kind of the same question back to you was there something that, that keeps you going, that, what's the thing that keeps you going? Are you just kind of taking it day by day, or do you have any sort of long-term goals, with it, or any sort of long-term feelings on it?
I'm kind of like in the same sense as you, because like I kind of went from like, even with my content and everything, I've gone through like an entire change over this last year, where I was doing more like hard labor storage unit type stuff, breaking my back, trying to make a living. And it's like, now I see not only through YouTube, but even through sports cards, through the hobby. Like that was one thing, like sports cards saved my business, like during the pandemic, because I mainly supported myself buying storage units and going to, garage sales and flea markets and stuff like that. And during the pandemic, you really couldn't go anywhere because of COVID. We were locked down. So like I fell back into my cards like even heavier. And it's like, okay, well, I should probably start selling stuff. And then it's like, once I started actually selling stuff, I'm like, oh my God, this stuff's worth way more than I thought it was now. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
that's when I like really started getting super heavy into cards, and it just kind of took over. That's going to live on YouTube now forever. Big guy says, what's up, Bubbles?
Bubbles.
You know what? I don't mind. Go ahead, Nate. My bad.
No, I was just saying we'll add that to the list of nicknames for you.
I mean, honestly, like I used to go in front of people looking like this, so Bubbles that's an upgrade for me.
Was that you?
Yeah, I used to wrestle for the NWA back in the day.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a card I had made up to do like as a giveaway for members and stuff on the channel.
That's serious business, man. I remember NWA. That was like the rival to WWE, wasn't it?
Yeah, like their biggest territory became WCW, which was the rival. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wasn't was Sting in that in NWA?
Yep.
Or was he in? Yeah, I mean, there was some. Wow.
Yeah, he was in NWA and in WCW.
Yeah.
They actually, after WCW shut down, a lot of NWA promotions started bringing in a lot of their talent again.
Did you wrestle against all those guys?
Not all of them, but some of them. Like I've been on shows with Mick Foley, Brutus Barber Beefcake. I don't know if you remember X-Pac, Big Bully Busick. He was like an early 90s guy. A lot of guys that are just there now. Like, for example, like I never actually wrestled him, but I've been on shows with him. CM Punk and Daniel Bryan. And one guy that's actually a couple guys from my hometown in WWE is one of the announcers, Corey Graves, and Elias, the guy with the guitar and the beard, kind of looks like Nate.
That is awesome.
A lot of really good wrestlers come out of Pittsburgh.
How did you get into it? Was it like your friends, like you had a group of friends that were all doing it, or did you have to because I have to assume that's hard to break into.
Very much. Growing up, like I was always one of them people that didn't want to have regrets. You know, whenever I die one day or whatever, I didn't want to look back and be like, man, I could have done that. And I just didn't or whatever. So growing up, I always either wanted to be a Pittsburgh Steeler or Hulk Hogan. So like I didn't get any like Division I scholarships or anything like that. Ended up going to an art school for college. So I ended up going the whole wrestling route. I was working in a job actually for the Art Institute, the school I graduated from, in their admissions department because I couldn't find work in my field. And the guy who was one of like the supervisors on the team I worked at was an announcer for a local like independent wrestling organization, and they were part of the NWA, and one of the guys there was a trainer. So just by meeting this guy through work, like getting to know that there was like actually local wrestling, because I didn't even know independent wrestling existed back then. You know what I mean? I just knew WWE and like some of like the bigger stuff. I didn't know that there was like smaller, territories like all over the country. So, I ended up going to a show with him, and I ended up meeting a guy named Crusher Hansen. And at the time he was the NWA National Heavyweight Champion. And I remember like when I was a kid, that was the same belt that Dusty Rhodes used to hold. So I was like, man, this is so cool. I'm getting to meet this guy. And, he talked to me about like the training program and stuff that they had there. And I ended up starting like the very next week, and the rest is pretty much history. I ended up getting into a tag team with that guy who trained me, and that's actually how I got my name. I was Tony Hansen. I got it because when I was going through training, I went through this like enforcer role where they were teaching me how to kind of work the crowd and do different things, but I wasn't like quite ready to like get in the ring and like work a full match because I didn't quite know everything yet. So he would have me come to the ring like his bodyguard, and like the fans would all speculate who I was. And because they thought we looked alike, everybody started saying I was his little brother. So like the fans are actually kind of who gave me my gimmick, is because he was training me and they thought I looked like him. So I ended up just going with like my real first name and his last name.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. Yeah. I bet. Was it the training is probably brutal? I would think. You just beating on each other for hours.
Oh my God, it was rough. The entire
when people are like, oh, it's like fake wrestling. I'm like, nah, I don't think it's that fake. Like the storylines, obviously they're storylines, but they're not playing around. Like it's serious.
Yep. It's crazy too, because the entire first day he wouldn't even let me in the ring. It was literally like he basically just made me run until I vomited twice, just to see if I would just to see if I would quit. you know, because I guess they have a lot of people like try out that don't, you know, give it a the first time. So, but I made it. I don't know how, by the grace of God. Oh, that's awesome, big guy. He says he trained with Abyss. That's what's up, man. Yeah, I've been on shows with Abyss. I've never actually like wrestled with him or like been in the ring with him, but that's super cool to hear, man. I heard he's a really nice guy in person. Oh, I can imagine, man. I can imagine. Like, I'm surprised I don't still have like a handprint in my chest from a guy named Mad Mike, who's like a bigger, well-known guy here in Pittsburgh on the independent scene. But he was like known for like these chops that he'd put on people. Like he would like, if you were a rookie, like one of your first matches was always against Mad Mike because he would make you humble.
Yeah.
If you left a match with him without a bloody chest, like you were in good shape because he would chop you that hard.
Wow. Jeez.
Yeah, definitely Spider. Even like the older Hulk Hogan cards from back in the day, those are all going for like crazy money now too. And the crazy thing is like I had all of these cards as a kid, and it was like junk back then. You know what I mean? Like I loved them because I liked wrestling and everything. Like those would be some of the cards I'd have in the screw downs. But like, man, if I would have just kept that stuff, you know what I mean? Like just who would have known that like today that would be worth something?
Yeah, the oddball stuff.
Nate, that was your cue to talk about that vintage 1991 WCW set you have.
I figured I'd spoken about that.
I was like throwing you a lob ball there, man.
I know.
I'm messing with you. He has this vintage WWE or WCW set that like every time he talks about it, it's like the first Avengers movie where Coulson or whatever his name is talking about his vintage Captain America cards, and he gets all like excited.
Yeah.
I always bust his chops for it.
That might be worth $20 for the set probably now. Everything else is going up like crazy, but for whatever reason, those older WCW cards have like stayed the same.
Yeah,
that's funny. Do you guys have the Marvel cards? Though those kind of caught fire a little bit.
I don't have any. I did sell all the ones I had at a flea market a year ago, which like the minute they started catching fire, I was like, I really put them out for like $0.25 a piece. Like I didn't think that was ever going to be worth anything again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I didn't either. They were so common back then. But I guess, you know, if you wanted in a PSA 10, that's not going to be common. They'll be hard to get. But yeah. I bought it.
I had wasn't even in sleeves, so it wasn't that big of a deal, but still.
Yeah. Yeah, I was looking at some of the I still have some of the old ones when I was a kid, and they're definitely not 10s. They had like the rounded corners and stuff. Like, yeah, like it's no big deal.
When you were a kid, did you really look at condition like anything close to what you look at it today? Like, because if it had like corners, I didn't even care when I was a kid.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Not in the picture was there, I was fine.
Yeah, not in the same way that people do today. It's like taking care of your cards in 1990 was just putting them in a penny sleeve and a top loader. But I would still take the card out and look at, you know, like my friends would look at it. So it's like, yeah, we had them in top loaders, but it's not like today where it's like you put it in a top loader, you never touch it again. You know, like you'd still take the card out and look, you know, and mess around with it when I was a kid. So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny that, yeah, the condition of stuff is totally different now. Very, very different. I can't imagine being a kid now opening a box of Prism or something. And, you know, you have to put it like, be very careful with it. Don't, you know, put it in, all the hits go into sleeves. And yeah, I don't know. It's definitely a lot different.
I would be afraid to let a kid open up a pack of Prism nowadays.
Yeah. And the reality is and they're not. I mean, I guess Mark Wahlberg's kids are opening packs of Prism, but that's about it. You know, like it's like 0.01% of kids are probably opening that.
Exactly. So we're getting close to an hour here. I don't want to take up a whole lot of your time. Is there anything coming up on your channel that you'd like to promote and let people know about?
I do have kind of an interesting, not tomorrow, but on Wednesday night, I'll have a mystery guest on. I don't want to give it away because it's kind of a surprise. I'm excited about it. I'm going to so the Wednesday morning episode will be kind of what it's all about. And then Wednesday night will be kind of an interview with the guy that's involved in that. I know that's so vague, but so Wednesday will be kind of fun on my channel. And then I've got like my, I'll show one of the cards, but my mother-in-law, she was like, hey, we have like old cards when I was a kid back in Ohio. We've got them. They're in Dayton, Ohio. Mm-hmm. And it's like her uncle still has them. They were all wrapped in rubber bands, but this is the card. This is the card that was on top of the, it's an OJ. It's an OJ rookie.
That's awesome.
It's an OJ rookie and it's beat up. That's why it's not in like a sleeve or anything. Cause I'm going to hold on to it, but it's not, but yeah. So I went through and there's actually probably like 40 cards that were actually pretty good. So I'm going to do a video and show all that. That was kind of a fun, like family find, type thing. So
yeah, I have my mom currently on the hunt for my Kobe binder from my childhood because she remembered like a binder that I had. And she remembers when she moved to her current apartment that she brought it with her. And like the binder she's describing, like the first 9 pages was nothing but the Kobe Bryant rookie with the sunglasses on his head, the upper deck one.
Yeah.
Like from there, it was like literally like half of the binder was nothing but Kobe Bryant cards because I was like such a avid Kobe fan when I was a kid. So like I'm hoping I will get to make one of those videos one day too.
That's cool. I've got 2 of those, the Oakley. I like the Oakley rookie, the upper deck one, because that's so 90s. That's so 96 with like the round Oakleys.
Yep.
I remember I had like the fake ones. I couldn't afford the real ones.
I was going to say I had the fake ones too. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, those were like the sunglasses to have. So every time I see that rookie card, it takes me back because that's totally 96, 97, 98. That's a cool card.
Yeah. Well, Nate, is there anything you want to share coming up on your channel?
Oh, well, the auction on my channel, Sunday, 4 p.m. Eastern. Come check out some good cards. And if you don't want to buy anything, you can just hang out and talk cards with us and have a good time.
Awesome. Me and Nate will also be meeting up later on this week because there's a sports card show at the Westmoreland Mall. If anybody's local to Pittsburgh, both of us will be there on Saturday. Both of us will be there on Saturday, but it is Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So if anyone is local, go out and show those guys some support because they really do bring a lot of fire and it's a good time. But I appreciate you guys being here. And if you haven't already, please do me a favor, go over and check out Dustin's channel. He puts out awesome content every single day.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate you having me on. This is cool.
You're very welcome.